The rain had been falling for almost an hour when I heard 3 soft knocks on my bedroom door. It was nearly midnight and the whole house was silent. I was sitting beside the window, reading an old book when the door slowly opened. My stepson, Adam, stood there. His face was pale, his hair was wet, and there was something in his eyes that immediately made me put the book down. "Adam, what happened?" I asked. He didn't answer. He quietly closed the door behind him, walked toward me, and leaned close to my ear. Then he whispered 6 words that made my entire body freeze. "Dad," I cut his brake lines. For several seconds I couldn't speak. I stared at him, hoping I had heard him wrong. "What did you say?" Adam looked toward the closed door before whispering again. "I cut his brake lines." My heart started pounding. "Whose?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "Mark's." Mark was our neighbor. He had moved into our neighborhood 6 months earlier. Everyone liked him. He was polite, successful, and always ready with a smile. He helped elderly neighbors carry groceries, brought gifts to children, and often offered to help people with their cars or home repairs. To me, he seemed like a decent man, but Adam had never trusted him. From the beginning, my stepson had warned me about him. I never took those warnings seriously. "Adam, do you understand what you've done?" I asked. "Yes, Dad. That could have killed someone." His eyes filled with tears. "I know." "Then why?" He looked at me and said, "Because I thought he was going to kill you." I felt a chill run through me. "What are you talking about?" Adam sat down and pulled a small black notebook from inside his jacket. "I've been watching Mark for 3 weeks." I stared at him. "Watching him?" "Yes." "Why didn't you tell me?" He looked down. "Because every time I tried, you told me I was imagining things." He opened the notebook. Page after page contained dates and notes. Monday, Mark followed Dad's car. Wednesday, Mark stood outside our house for 20 minutes. Friday, someone tried to open the back door. Sunday, Mark asked about Dad's business. I slowly turned the pages. There were dozens of entries. At first, I wanted to tell myself they were all coincidences. But then Adam took out his phone and showed me photographs. In one, Mark was standing outside my office. In another, his car was parked near our house late at night. In a third, Mark was watching my vehicle from across the street. "Where did you get these?" I asked. "I took them." "Why?" Adam's voice became quiet. "Because I knew something was wrong." Then he showed me something else. A message. The words were short and frightening. "Stay away from my business, or your family will pay the price." I looked at Adam. "Who sent this?" "I don't know." "Did you report it?" He shook his head. "No." "Why not?" "Because I was scared." I sat beside him. "Tell me exactly what happened tonight." Adam took a deep breath. "I saw Mark getting ready to leave his house. I followed him." "Where did he go?" "To the old warehouse near the highway." I knew that warehouse. It had been abandoned for years. People rarely went there after dark. Adam continued. "Mark met another man there. They talked for several minutes. The other man gave him a folder and Mark handed him an envelope. I recorded part of the meeting." He showed me the video. It was dark and shaky, but there was no doubt that Mark was there. "Why didn't you call the police?" I asked. "I wanted more proof." "And then?" Adam looked ashamed. "I panicked." He explained that when Mark returned to his vehicle, Adam approached it and tampered with the car because he wanted to prevent Mark from driving away. He wasn't thinking clearly. He was frightened and believed Mark was preparing to hurt our family. I stood up. "Adam, what you did was dangerous. You could have caused a terrible accident." "I know. Whatever you thought Mark was planning, you should never have taken matters into your own hands." "I know, Dad." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I said, "We're going to the police." The next morning we took everything with us: the photographs, the threatening message, the video, and Adam's notebook. At first, the officers were cautious. They told us that suspicion wasn't enough to accuse someone of a serious crime. Then they checked Mark's background. And that's when the story began to change. The officer returned to the room with a serious expression. Your neighbor isn't exactly who he says he is." I felt my stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" The officer explained that Mark had used different names in different cities. There were financial complaints connected to him, and his history contained several suspicious incidents. The police obtained permission to search his warehouse. What they found inside was far more disturbing than any of us expected. There were files containing private information about several people, property records, business documents, photographs, financial information, names and addresses. Then one officer found a thick folder. It had my name on it. I felt my hands go cold. "What's in there?" The officer opened it. Inside were details about my business, my daily schedule, the vehicles I drove, the people I worked with, and even information about my family. Someone had been watching me. But why? That question remained unanswered until the police found another connection. Mark had been communicating with one of my former business partners. His name was Daniel. Daniel and I had known each other for almost 15 years. We had built a business together from nothing. I trusted him like a brother. But 6 months earlier, strange things had started happening. Important contracts were suddenly falling apart. Private information was somehow reaching competitors. Money was disappearing from accounts. Clients were leaving without explanation. I had blamed poor management. Now I realized I had been looking in the wrong direction. The police discovered that Mark had been communicating with Daniel. One of Mark's associates was arrested and questioned. At first, he denied everything. But after hours of questioning, he finally broke. The detective asked who hired Mark. The man remained silent. Then he gave them a name. Daniel. I couldn't believe it. The man I had trusted for 15 years had been working against me. He wanted control of the business. He wanted me out. He had secretly hired people to collect information about me and pressure me into making mistakes. But there was more. Daniel had instructed Mark to frighten me. The plan was supposed to remain financial and psychological. Daniel claimed he never wanted anyone physically harmed. But Mark had become increasingly aggressive. He started following me. He started watching our house. Then he discovered that Adam had been investigating him. That's when the threats began. Suddenly, Adam's strange behavior made sense. His fear made sense. His notebook made sense. Everything connected. But there was still one question that kept bothering me. Why had Mark been collecting so much information about me? The police eventually discovered the answer. Daniel didn't just want my company. He wanted something much bigger. He had discovered that a major investor was preparing to buy part of our business. If Daniel could force me out before the deal was completed, he could take control and make millions. Mark was supposed to gather enough information to destroy my position. But the plan had gone too far. Mark had become obsessed with controlling the situation. And Adam had noticed him before anyone else. When the police finally confronted Mark, he denied everything. He claimed the photographs were meaningless. He claimed the documents belonged to someone else. He claimed he had never threatened Adam. But the evidence kept piling up. The warehouse records, the financial documents, the messages, the photographs, the video, the witness testimony. One piece at a time, the truth became impossible to hide. Mark had been working for Daniel. Daniel wanted my business. And my stepson had accidentally uncovered the entire operation. But there was something I couldn't stop thinking about. That midnight conversation. Adam standing in my bedroom. His frightened face. His trembling voice. I cut his break lines. At first, I had thought my son had done something unforgivable. Now, I understood that fear had pushed him into making a terrible decision. That didn't make his decision right. It simply helped me understand why he had made it. A few days after Mark's arrest, Adam and I sat together in the living room. I looked at him and asked, "Can I ask you something?" He nodded. "Why didn't you trust me?" He was silent for several seconds. Then he said, "Because I thought you would choose him over me." Those words broke my heart. Why? Because every time I warned you, you defended him. I remembered everything. Every warning. Every conversation. Every time I had told Adam to stop being suspicious. I had been so certain that I was protecting my family from unnecessary fear that I had failed to notice the danger right in front of us. I reached across the table and took his hand. I was wrong. Adam looked at me. I should have listened to you. He smiled sadly. I just wanted you to be safe. I know. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I told him something I should have told him years earlier. You may be my stepson, but you are my son. His eyes filled with tears. He stood up and hugged me. And for the first time in months, I felt like something inside our family had finally healed. The case continued for several months. Daniel was eventually charged, and Mark faced serious charges related to threats, fraud, and other offenses. Our business survived, but my relationship with Daniel never did. Some betrayals are too deep to repair. Money can be replaced. Businesses can recover. Homes can be rebuilt. But trust is different. Once trust is broken, even an apology cannot always put it back together. Looking back, I learned several lessons from that terrifying period. The first was simple: never ignore the people who genuinely care about you. The second was even more important: fear can make people make dangerous decisions. Adam was trying to protect me, but tampering with someone's vehicle could have caused an innocent person to die. Even if you believe someone is dangerous, you should never take the law into your own hands. Call the authorities. Preserve evidence. Tell someone you trust. Stay calm. Those choices can save lives. Today, Adam rarely talks about that night. Neither do I. But sometimes, when rain hits the windows late at night, I remember the sound of those 3 knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I remember opening the door. I remember seeing Adam standing there, with rainwater dripping from his hair. And I remember the words that made my heart stop. "Dad, I cut his brake lines." At the time, I thought those words meant my son had become dangerous. Later, I realized they were the desperate words of a frightened young man who believed his family was in danger. The truth was shocking. The neighbor I thought was harmless was hiding a dangerous secret. The friend I trusted for 15 years had betrayed me. And the person I had failed to listen to was the one who helped uncover everything. Sometimes the truth doesn't arrive with a warning. Sometimes it arrives quietly. Sometimes it knocks on your bedroom door at midnight. And sometimes the person standing on the other side is someone you never expected to become your protector. If there is one thing I would tell every parent after what happened to me, it is this: listen to your children. You don't have to believe every suspicion immediately, but never make them feel that their voice doesn't matter. Ask questions. Look for facts. Stay calm. And when something truly feels dangerous, seek help from the proper authorities. Because one wrong decision can change several lives forever. But one honest conversation can sometimes save them. That rainy night changed my relationship with Adam forever. I stopped thinking of him as simply my wife's son. I stopped thinking of him as my stepson. I started seeing him for what he truly was. My son. A son who was frightened. A son who made a serious mistake. A son who was trying to protect his family. And a son who taught me one of the most important lessons of my life. Sometimes the person whispering the warning isn't the enemy. Sometimes he's the one trying to save you. And sometimes the person you almost stopped listening to is the person you should have heard all along. If you enjoyed this emotional and suspenseful family story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful, emotional, and mysterious stories. Your support means a lot to us, and it helps us bring you more stories that keep you guessing until the very end. Thank you for watching. Until our next story, take care of yourself, listen to the people who love you, and never ignore a warning just because it sounds unbelievable.